each one of us has something more to offer, and therefore that urge that whatever that we are doing, we have to be passionate to even create a market for it.
Welcome to the Blue Circle. Thank you all for joining. It's such a big privilege and a pleasure to reconnect with everyone, our distinguished panelists who are handpicked because of the think input and the rich experience they bring in. And thank you to our distinguished audience for joining us. We've received over 150 registrations of CEOs and CXOs. Many of them are repeat visitors to our webinars. So thank you very much. It is very encouraging and motivates us to provide even higher levels of dialogue to the online channels as well. For those of you who are new with us today, the Blue Circle is an ecosystem to help business leaders manage disruptive times and become future ready. We focus on 4 fundamental sectors, which are healthcare, real estate, energy, and e-mobility. We also present socio-economic insights from time to time, which ultimately determine the evolving complexion of the market. In response to the COVID challenge, the Blue Circle has also accentuated its digital presence. One of the many modes we employ is our weekly webinar series, our digital publication. We're also building a hand-picked domain-focused expert pool drawn from our leadership community, from our member base and its associates that will guide businesses during and post-COVID in these sectors. In addition to this, we will also be shortly launching an exclusive digital platform, the LinkedIn for Leaders, wherein we will present to them the opportunity of connecting with people just like them, provide high quality curated content and meaningful conversations. So those leaders who are interested, please feel free to write to us. And today's discussion will revolve around how post-COVID reputations will be remade, the importance of interpersonal relationships will grow, how we defined our optimum will change, how jobs will be lost, but the alert will still find opportunities, how there will be less and less space for ego, and most importantly, how entrepreneurs who are not obsessed with status will succeed. So today we've invited a prominent public figure from the media industry and a leading thinker from the world of wisdom to tango on business and life. I think Mr. Vidyarthi's video might be off, sir. Yeah.
Right here.
Sure, sir. So we have with us, and it's a big privilege to have you, sir, Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi, life and creativity coach, motivational interventionalist, and a national award-winning actor who has worked across 11 languages and 200 plus films. With his igniting talks and bespoke motivational workshops, he has impacted the lives of working professionals from over 200 organizations across the globe. He is also the co-founder of Ashish Vidyarthi and Associates. Welcome, sir. And we have Mr. Pavan Choudary, best-selling author, CEO, public intellectual, and sits on several boards across the country. Welcome, sir. And kindly note, we will have Q&A towards the end of the session. Some of you have already shared your questions and they're with Mr. Choudary now. So now I request Mr. Choudary to please begin the session, sir.
Thank you very much, Siddharth. Thank you, Ashish ji, for joining us. Big pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you, Pavan ji, and Siddharth. Good to have you here, and good to be here amidst you all. Wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you, audience. And thank you, audience. So many of you are joining us in webinar after webinar. It really encourages us and inspires us to add value through our dialogue so that we stay attractive to you. Thank you very much. And in this chain of dialogues, I add one more very important link today by having Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi with us. His introduction has already been given by Siddharth. You would know him and recognize him very well from his many roles which have entertained us. So Ashish ji, how is the film world adapting? I would not call it to the new normal because it is still the new flux. And so how's the film world adapting to the new flux which COVID has caused? And how is it deciding to move forward? Ashish ji.
Ji, namaskar. So this has been a huge leveler. So one of the things that we have to get very, very clearly is that there is no film world, and there is no business world, and there is no industrial world, and there is no teaching world. There is one world. And if I hear your question, Pavanji, one thing is very, very clear, that we are talking of something which is disrupted even each one of us who thought that we were ready to get disrupted. In fact, what this has done is that it has torn VUCA out of the books and reams of knowledge and brought it into the real world, where the rubber has met the road. And VUCA, as it touches, feels, is more scary than we ever imagined it to be. The other day, there was this conversation that I was having with a dear friend, and she mentioned how adaptability also, right? We all love the idea that we are, how adaptable are you? And we recognized each one of us. We saw qualities within us where we celebrated our adaptability. But consider for a moment that all the things that we thought we could be adaptable about, this has broken into smithereens and gone past our even wildest imagination. The films that we used to watch, films of Armageddon, films of complete desolateness, where countries or cities were to be put into complete industrial loss, and everything would stop. The zombies all around. Imagine all that has stepped in from the real world into our world of reality. So what this, for me, what this entire thing has done is that it has jolted and brought a whole new reality to what flux can be. It has brought us face to face with actually living what we thought we said that we will. So for me, as an actor, as a person who has been continually reinventing through my life, Pavanji, I tell you, what I did in the past seems so much like a luxury to what this time is asking from me and asking from you and asking from each one of us who are our esteemed guests today. So for me as an actor, and that's something which I love, talking of, is that consider that all the textbook versions of uncertainty have been put away. And we are now face to face with real uncertainty. Real, I don't know where it's going. Real case where none of our past understandings, past theories are holding water. Welcome to the real world.
I'm glad you used this word VUCA, because the CEOs and CXOs who are listening to you, they are very familiar with this word VUCA. And what you're saying is that VUCA is a very mild cousin of what is happening today. There is cataclysmic tectonic change which is happening. So how do you think it will impact learning, skill development? How long will our reputations hold? Our reputations as performers in XYZ terrain, how long will they hold? Ashish ji.
Yeah. So, Babaji, here is an interesting one. So let's simplify it, because I love to, in each of my programs, I love to simplify things, because it's now that we have created, even in this conversation, something, the danger, how dangerous this is looking for each one of us. Let's try and get it right. Okay. This huge thing that we are creating, and in fact, when somebody is asked what is happening around, people say it's this pandemic. All right. That word itself, it's so big, so huge. Now consider what we are doing to ourselves is that we are setting ourselves up to something which is really big. And guess who's going to overcome that? You and I. So what we are setting up for ourselves is that we are setting ourselves up for a fight. Now let's try and take the sting out of this, because that's what I love to do. Because I would loathe a life in which each day I'm progressing towards dealing with a huge, big thing. Let's look at our life as it's been. And the question that I pose, and I'm posing right now, is that how many of us who are sitting in this room had a certainty filled life pre-March 2020? Are there anyone who can say that, it was all going fine? It was like phenomenal. We are flying high. We weren't. We had other issues then. We had other things of uncertainty which were coming up. Now consider for a moment, what is happening at this very moment is that it is, earlier there were some people who knew the way, right? When we are lost, somebody would say, don't worry, everything will be okay. At this moment, there is a collective loss of hope. Now, in this moment, this is where the past, and as you talked of the reputation, the past, the things that we have achieved, things that we have done in the past are not going to hold water. Now, I'll give you a personal example. So after a few years after I'd come down to Bombay as an anonymous, wanting to be an actor, then I became an actor. So, you from who is this guy to I became Ashish Ji in Hindi. Great difficulty, honestly. Very, very great difficulty, After some films became hit and all that, suddenly I was being offered a chair, and, I'd written a piece somewhere. I started being offered a Bisleri bottle. Earlier when you're just about getting work and getting minor roles, you will get a bottle of Bisleri, but except that, it's a refilled water of Bisleri. But when you become Ashish Ji or, anyone that you're known, you start getting a bottle where the assistant would open the bottle for you. Sir, pani. Now, it was a huge movement, okay, from being offered a chair to getting a bottle of Bisleri, as odd as it may sound. But yes, that was a point of, okay, I have at least reached this much. And I remember at that very point in around 2000, when I felt that the kind of roles that I was doing in Hindi, I really wanted more out of it, all right? And I felt that I was being hemmed in with the kind of roles, the choices that I'm getting. So I moved out and started looking for work down south. And that's when my journey outside of Hindi started. But the interesting part here was, I started again at the bottom of the totem pole, the next totem pole. So from this totem pole where I managed to reach somewhere here, if I had to start afresh, I kind of reached here and then started making my way up. But the interesting part here was that I had already become Ashish Ji here, all right? But here, this was, who's this guy? In fact, I have an interesting tale that I reached Chennai, one of the first shooting schedules. And as we came out, my associate and my makeup man, with three of us, walked out, and suddenly I saw a sign, somebody holding a placard. There was no my name, but I suddenly saw somebody holding a placard that says, Aziz Vidyarthi. So I walked up to this gentleman and said, Ashish Vidyarthi? He said, Bombay film actor? I said, yes. Certain car. Now, the Ashish Ji was a who, maybe Aziz Vidyarthi or Aziz Vaidyanathan. Now, each time I would fly out of Madras, that time it was Madras, so an unknown guy would get a ticket called Aziz Vaidyanathan or Aziz Vidyarthi. Remember the Indian Airlines tickets handwritten in the red? I would fly out with the ticket, and then when I would land in Bombay, again, I would become Ashish Ji. Now, at that moment, there was a very interesting takeaway for me. I really got that reputation that I've created with great difficulty here in Bombay. No one knows, no one cares about it in Chennai, in Madras at that point. All right. I had to start afresh and create. All right. And over a period of time, when my film started becoming hit there, and again, I, was known there. But that learning I have used in my life throughout, when I realized, and ever so much more here, that all the amazing things that we have done in the past, and we have created amazing reputations. All of us are doing well for ourselves. That's why we are in this blue circle. Now imagine if we get that those reputations that we have worked very hard, strived hard for, probably they will not be needed here. In fact, people don't even care. This time doesn't even want that. What this time wants and asks from us is something new, which is bereft of our reputation. And therefore, a huge part for this new is our ability to let go of what we have really worked hard for and be ready to be who this guy and again start creating. And as painful and as scary as it may seem, I think that's the way the future is. I personally feel that it's something which was commonplace in the US in years. I remember a very, very dear friend of mine who retrained herself when she reached Canada and retrained in a completely different a profession. Another very, very dear friend of mine, a doctor. He was a doctor here in India. He went and he said that he retrained himself at the age of 45. And he said his classmates were 23-year-olds and he was retraining at the age of 45. So that ability, do we have that ability to retrain ourselves and, more importantly, give up on the past achievements and be ready to create afresh? That is what this time is needed.
Very, very good point. In fact, you have opened a very pregnant area for discussion, and I would like to go a little deeper into this because our attempt is to raise the caliber of the dialogue. And we can learn so much from you in this regard. So what I have heard from celebrities and even from the Tinsel Town, that the big star, just like you, for example, Shah Rukh Khan and others, sometimes have a lament, especially when they reach a particular age, that public addresses us by first name. That means everybody on the set, of course, is calling Shah Rukh Khan or you Ashish ji or Shah Rukh ji, but public addresses them by first name, and some of the stars do not like this so much. So isn't this a part of being a public figure, that some people will speak to you in a way which you may like and some may not? This is my first question. My second point is that when you moved from Bollywood to the south, you could consider that movement from high up on this totem pole to even higher up on this totem pole, the southern totem pole, because there is some kind of a pecking order between Bollywood and the regional areas. And what you may have thought that you have started from the bottom of the southern pyramid might have actually been very close to the top. That is my question. Please correct me if as I want to understand further. And the third point which you made was very good, that our repetitions will not hold water for long. We have to retrain, repot, reskill. At the same time, what I think you have very beautifully pointed out is not only we have to retain, repot and reskill, the people who have achieved some level of success and some level of respect from their fellow beings will have to readjust to this coming down. Maybe in the new area which you venture or the new world which you venture, people may not be willing to give you the same protocol of behavior as they were giving before. What is your view on this? And kindly comment on these 3 points, Ashish ji.
So I'll begin with the last one because that's what I recall now. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, yes. So what are you expecting from others?
Yeah.
That's a huge part of life. What are you expecting from others? How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be addressed? What is the sobriquet that you want associated with you when people address you? Now, over a period of time, see, there are certain things that come in terms of our culture, how people address each other. I'm referring to you as Pavan ji, all right? And it's a paradigm of culture, in which, and over the time that you and I have been communicating, we have been using that. Now, consider for a moment, and when I came down from Delhi, so I had a huge issue calling people Ji, because, I was a product of Delhi University, Hindu College, and we didn't say Ji. We used to just call people with names, But when I came here, उन्होंने कहा यार जी बोलना पड़ेगा. तो मकरंद देशपांडे, my actor friend, he told me a beautiful thing. He said, आशीष पूरा नाम ही है. पूरा नाम है जी, समझ लो जी में. Now, on a different note, the point is not what others address you as. It begins with what is it that you expect from others. This is a trap. What I expect from you, if I am now going to be in service of that expectation, then I am trapped forever. And again, we come back to, each one of us has a singularity. Over a period of time, we develop expertise, and that becomes our singularity. All right. So he's very good in that, and he's very good in that, and that guy's very, very good in that. And I have always looked at life as, how will it be if you can get that, you get an also about you? I'll tell you an anecdote. Years back in Delhi, I had seen this hoarding, and it has remained with me, and it's been something which has given me a lot of strength. It was a Tata Steel ad, if you recall. If any one of you recall the Tata Steel ad.
We also make steel.
Yes. Imagine Tata Steel saying, we also make steel. Hindi mein tha, hum ispat bhi banate hain. And I tell you something, that was such an inspiring thing for me. I got for the first time that I can be also, I can also be an actor and also be a traveler. I can also be a photographer. And that's something which has stood with me. Now, was it simple? No, it wasn't. Because coming into a profession as an actor, when you come in, first, it was very difficult for people to believe that how can you make it just being an actor? Okay, to karta kya hai? Acting, got it. But what are you doing? You're acting. So once you're getting it, I discovered that I have other parts of me. And so therefore, what you're seeing at this point, over the last 6 years, when we started the movement of Avid Miner, when we started doing conversations with coaching sessions and workshops for organizations, this was an expression of the also part of me. Because I discovered that each one of us, not just me, you, I, each one of us in this room, we are alsos. There are facets to us. Now, what is interesting about facets is then you are not unidimensional. I'm not unidimensional. And therefore, I'm not just waiting to have a victory in just one area. There are many areas. And that takes me to a very, very interesting, part which I am inspired by, is that each one of us, dear friend, wants victory. We all want to win. Very important. We don't want to have just saying, "Arey yaar, aaj bhi nahi hua kuch. Arey aaj bhi nahi hua." I'm waiting for that one thing if that happens. What if that one thing doesn't happen? Life is longer. Life is multifaceted. We've got many responsibilities to fulfill. And therefore, if we look at it, hum log jisko kehte hain na, chahu disha mein, we've got facets like diamonds. We have got such extraordinary possibilities to kind of, really create a shine and to reach out. And the other interesting thing that happens is that the moment we start respecting our own facets, that's the same thing we start now respecting in others. And if you just come to it and understand that there will be many people who will not understand one facet, and they will try to make you unifaceted. For example, for the longest time, for me, even when I came down to speaking and doing workshops, people say, yeah, you're an actor, so we'll ask you topics about acting. I said, I got it. I am an actor. As we speak, I'm a 55-year-old, also an actor, also a father, also a husband, also a traveler, also a reader. So now that also part of us is something which really excites me, because the also is what is required in this new world, my friend. Our only is probably not needed, or probably not needed in this form. The also will allow you to think of, it's a bit like I got ingredients. I got those 1000 masalas, and with those masalas, I will make a new dish of this. Since I love food, I love talking about food. But consider, it is that ability, that openness that I have about myself, that I'm not just that which you said, so you're that. No, I'm also that. And imagine if we can free ourselves from that, then we are creating what is needed rather than we are creating what we think that we can only create.
Super. Great point. So basically, जो आपने मकरंद देशपांडे के बारे में बताया, वैसे आप भी बोल सकते थे वहां पर साउथ में कि मैं भी आशीष जी हूँ, ASHISH and G Garu, Ashish Garu. I'm sure they must have called you Garu. Am I right or wrong?
Later.
Later. Great. Second point is a beautiful point which you have brought up. You have said we should not get trapped in others' impressions of us. As Francis Bacon had also said, that fame is also extremely strangulating because your pleasure starts living in other people's brains.
Mhm.
So they start controlling how you will behave.
Sure.
And that was a beautiful point you said. In fact, you also brought out a facet which one of the questions is about. You said that people try to unifacet you. People try to make you think only in monochrome. Whereas if your palette has many colors, you should allow them also to splash your also. And uh, in the corporate sector also, this happens often, where you are expected to rise from one position, say product manager to marketing manager to vice president to and in monochrome, in a tunnel you are thinking, but the real world is outside the tunnel, and which is why maybe the corporate sector thrives on making people focus, but too much focus is a frozen state of mind. That's what you're saying. And I would like to ask you the second question, which is in this regard, that, and this comes from Dr. Jasprit Ahluwalia. He says, what needs to be done to start your own source of secondary income along with current job for financial security in these uncertain times?
And this question is from?
From Dr. Jasprit Ahluwalia. He's the GM HR of KBPL.
Got it. So, Dr. Ahluwalia, what's very interesting is that don't talk about it as secondary as primary. It'll find its own place. The point here is, and I think what you've raised is a very valid point. We will need to, in fact, one of my videos, which is running very interestingly on LinkedIn, it talks about what is your plan B, C, D, F. And it is critical. It's very, very critical because in our life, there are going to be many, many things that, life is going to be throwing up. Now, if we look at it, so one of the ideas that I've always felt is that what is an earning source? What is an earning possibility? Now, if we just limit it to how do I earn money, then we are really limiting our thought. All right. Now, consider for a moment. Let's just break it down to how do you earn money. So if we look at earning money has a direct relationship with the impact that you make. So you may be very talented, but if you're not impacting, there's no chance of you being rewarded by people who are impacted. So as you go up like wherever you have reached, you are probably earning more because with your work, you're impacting more. So a way of looking at things, what I feel is, look at how else can I impact. What happens with that is that I look around. So it's now this is a part of a workshop that we do, but I'll give you a sense of it, Pavanji. So typically, when you go to a shop, you look at a thing and then you look how much money do I have. All right. Okay, that's one way. So according to the money, I will buy it or not buy it. All right. Now I just want to turn it slightly around. Imagine you're looking around. You're looking around at what the world is looking for, what the world is asking for, what the world is wanting. Okay. After you've seen that, you've picked up 2 or 3 or 4 things which you think are interesting. Now, at that point, you found it interesting. Now you start looking at, so what are my capabilities to fulfill that? Not that I've been doing till now. So I'm not starting from here. I'm starting from here. Okay, what is it that the world wants? What is it the world is needing at this point? And then I start looking at, so what are the capabilities that I have, which I may need to rearrange? Now, at one point is that I will need to rearrange my capabilities. Now, the other end is, who are the other people in around my life whom I can collaborate with? So a very powerful thing which is available to me, and I would love to share with you people, is that life is not just limited to the things that you have. So it's just not your how can I do it? Also start looking at who can you do it with? Because as we complement the capabilities that we have with people around, that's when the possibilities amplify. So now we may have multiple earning possibilities opening up. Now, those multiple earning possibilities are not built on a past knowledge. They are now being created basis what is required. And to just give you an example, and Pavanji, I was sharing this with you. So across over these years, we've been working with multiple agencies, and creative agencies, event agencies, apart from learning and development groups and organizations who directly connect with us and all that. So one of the digital agencies, an event agency contacted us, right after the lockdown. And this was a time when you say, good, work is coming. So my colleague, she said, sure, please tell us what is this event? And they said, I'm sorry, what event? He said, how many pieces do you want? They said, what pieces? They said, well, we are offering masks and hand sanitizers. So my colleague said, one sec. And she just checked the email. I said, but you are that agency, right? Which we did 3 events with. He said, yeah. Nowadays we are doing this. And when she shared it with me, and when we are having this evening meeting, and I said, wow, can you believe this? I've got so much respect that agency, it is a well-known agency. It is well-known in these circles, but they were not stopped by their reputation. What will people say? Arey yaar, aajkal tum ye kar rahe ho. Yes, I will do it. I can do it, because I am not stopped by what others may think, by even my reputation. And that's what I love. So the alternate may be entirely different from what you have ever done. And consider one thing. This is something which I've learned in life. There is nothing low about working. In fact, Pavanji, this period for me is a period for the person who is willing to work. Not a person who's only wanting to live on their past accolades or their things that they've achieved. This is a period for each one of us who are hungry. We are hungry. If you're hungry and you really wish to create something amazing, this is the period. And therefore, for me, if you're wanting to create a new set of avenues, not just one avenue, set of avenues, look around. And there are amazing possibilities that people are needing at this point, that people may need at this point. And that is where your ingenuity, your ability to break yourself and create afresh for this new reality will come into play.
Excellent points. What you have said is that money will come because of the impact which you will make.
Absolutely.
And you can make your impact directly and earn money, or you can understand that there is not only financial capital, but also social capital, intellectual capital, which you carry within you. And if you will work in the areas of social capital and intellectual capital also, eventually your impact will be heavier and your returns will come.
It'll amplify. Pavanji, if I'm a very, very, very kind of just point this, that this is a very valid and very interesting point that you've just raised. We have to find ways to amplify our impact. And therefore I stress on the social impact. And social impact doesn't, any product, if you look at anything as a product, when it spreads, that's when it starts actually returning its value. That's when you can lower the price and impact more. And therefore, the continuous need to keep in touch with the social impact of whatever that you're doing.
Absolutely. So a professional can give off his services for a job which he does. He can also talk, write, advise, teach. That means there can be more than one string on your bow. And everyone will not fire money for you, but it will fire in a direction. Every string will fire in a direction which will help you get money by increasing your impact, by using all the various facets of talent which you have. And you can also, what you said, you can also string this string or weave this string with not only alone, with the help of others, not only the how, the who you can do this with. So a co-weaving model. And the last point which you said was also extremely interesting. And you said that this company, which was into events, and its business went down, it went into selling masks and sanitizers unreservedly and unhesitatingly. That means it was not struck by status conscious frigidness. So I was reminded of IBM and UNIVAC. IBM and UNIVAC both went into the scientific computer market because they were only appealing to the scientific community. And then they realized that perhaps it is the business community which we should go to. But they did not want to trade down. IBM took the risk, traded down, and then it became what it became. Macy's, which is a departmental store, which you would have heard of, in the beginning, it realized that though it wanted to market itself as the high fashion departmental store, but its major sales or part of its major sales was coming from appliances. And that was an embarrassing success for them. However, until they factored in the fact in their advertising and in their acceptance of the identity that this appliances piece also will be an important part of us, till then they did not succeed. And once they did that, they succeeded. So they broke the chains of status to survive and thrive. Excellent points, Ashish Ji. Coming to...
So I'm just reading one very interesting question from Mr. Bhargava Golapalli.
Boli.
It is in that question, and I just love that question. He says, what would be your advice to CXOs who wish to influence the larger policy during these times when we don't know what the new normal is going to be? And I think this got a very interesting point, and I just want to make something here.
Yeah.
And what Bhargava has talked about is something very interesting. See, consider that even in our business, whatever be our business, there are certain things that we say is none of our business. So this is my business, but something else that's none of my business. Now, over the years, I have discovered as a self-employed person that there is nothing in this world which is none of my business. In fact, there is nothing in the world which I tell anyone is none of your business. Mm-hmm. All right. So a very interesting point that you have brought out, Bhargav. Consider that not only is our job doing our work, but also a part of our job is to communicate about our job. And I'll share something. So I have this principle that we, again, do in our workshop, but I would love to share it with you. It's called the 10-30-30-30 principle. Okay, I'll just share this with you in this context. All right. So very critical part of that 10, the 10 for me is the time to dream. All right. It's the time to dream. Very important. Now, dream is something which we used to, remember? And then we grew up and people said, come on, get real. Stop dreaming. And I'm saying 10% dream. Very important. Dream. And dream is when you wake up and dream. Not what you dreamt when you're sleeping. No, you wake up and you dream. Now, the next 30%, I would say, is that so I'm not going into the details right now, but I'm just kind of explaining this, that once you dream, then you've seen something for yourself, which is even silly, which you think is unimaginable. Now, hold that dream. That is very, very important. Now, 30% of your time, do your day job, what you need to do. Consider you are the CXO, you are running that company. That's your day job. You really, really have to do it well. Now, 30% of your time, apart from doing your job, you are to grow yourself. Now, those are things which you're doing just for yourself, to grow yourself, to make yourself, expand yourself, increase the lateral of you, increase the depth of you, allow yourself to touch by thoughts which you probably, have no direct connect with your work. So that is where I say that you expand yourself, all right? So 10% dreaming, 30% working really hard, 30% growing yourself, and the last 30% is the stuff that you asked about, Bhargav, is the point when you make friends of your work. That is the time when you create more need of what you are going to offer. So therefore, that job of asking for job is also yours. And therefore, what is your communication to the world, that people are not just experiencing your work, but also knowing that, hey, that great work is here. So anything to do with policy, anything to do with the listening that the world has about your job is my business, is your business. So therefore, it is a 360 approach, that if this is my baby, I am responsible for bringing her up beautifully. And there is nothing in this world which I cannot do and I will not do. So therefore, for any business, for any enterprise, not just is it important to create that product, but also create a listening for it, create a buy-in for it. And for that, yes, policy will need to be pushed. You will need to communicate powerfully. And therefore, the moment you get that as an entrepreneur, as a person who's employed, and for me, each one of us is an entrepreneur. If we are even working in an organization, whatever you want to call it, you call it entrepreneur or whatever, I am very clear. Each one of us has something more to offer. And therefore, that urge that whatever that we are doing, we have to be passionate to even create a market for it. And therefore, that policy that you spoke about, which your organization needs, that's your business. And you'll have to find ways to do it. So it's not something that somebody else is going to do it. I am going to do it. And we've got to find ways how to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. There is a couplet I remember, खुशबुओं को फैलने का शौक है मगर मुमकिन नहीं हवाओं से रिश्ता किए बगैर. So वो पॉलिसी वगैरह जो है वो हवाएं हैं जो आपके टैलेंट का इत्र को की खुशबू को फैलाएंगी. Coming to interpersonal relationships, Ashish ji, in this new gig economy where repetitions will not matter, where protocols of behavior will not be followed, how do you feel interpersonal relationships will change? And what will happen to the space which was occupied by ego? Is there less and less space for ego now?
No, there is always a lot of space for ego if you're ready to pay the price for it. Of course, there's a lot of space for ego. Please keep the ego. Please keep the hurt. Please keep the anger. Please keep the upset. There's a lot of space for it. But there's a huge price that each one of us pays for it. And interpersonal relationship, for me, see, up till now, we have spoken about what all we want to achieve, all right? So we're doing quite a few things. We are covering quite a few topics here. Of course, in depth is a different thing, but still at this point, what I want to share with you is that it's very important to nurture ourselves. Nurture ourselves, really take care of ourselves. And nothing more vitality given is other than having phenomenal relationships. For me, relationships are not just, it's such a pity. I meet people, and over the years, remember we used to go to work at some point, some months back. So at that time, people say, so you would meet somebody and say, oh, is your friend of yours? No, that's my colleague. My friend I meet once in a month. We have a great time, okay? Once a month or once in 3 months, I meet a friend. But my colleagues, I meet each day. I've always felt that we have just sold ourselves such a bad deal. Each day, I'm just going to go past with some colleagues, and I look forward to having one great time with my friend whom I'll meet once in a while. Interpersonal relationships can allow us to have the value on seeking and having amazing friendships at work. Now, who said that friendship means that you cannot ask for what is needed? Who said that? So interpersonal relationships for me is something which not just nourishes you, but it allows you to look at things and ask for favors and to negotiate things which otherwise you would find very difficult. Now, there is a major difference between what we typically understand as negotiation, where someone or the other wins and the other one loses. Consider for a moment that in these interpersonal relations, one of the things that we work on is allowing people to get the value of even getting a bad deal. Why do we always want a great deal? Because you know what? At the end of it, What matters is that after all that, what are you getting? So if you keep looking for the best deal, I'll get the best thing out of it. It says, "Aur mil sakta tha," you're still upset. So, there are cases where you got the best deal and think, "Thoda aur mil sakta tha na." Now, how will it be if you can actually get what is the longitude? What is the strength that I have developed in this time? So, as I call it, that even as we do our work, at the end of the day at work, have you made one more friend of your work? Not just a person who's used your product, used your services, but somebody say, "Wow, this is wonderful." Now, that is something that we need to get. And if you look at technology, just look at technology. It seems so cold, all right? But still, you will die for that phone of yours. I love that phone. I'm an Android user. I'm an iPhone. अरे भाई तुमने क्या तुमको कोई पैसा दे रहा है क्या? तुम खर्चा करके ले रहे हो, but still you want to die for it. You want to fight for it. You want to say, no, this one is better. Hey, don't use that. Use this one. Why? That's the connect that they have got. They have given us such a comfort. And for me, interpersonal relationships are where you can actually, give that extra bit to those people, where they get that, yes, this person offers that same thing, this person offers that same thing, but iski kuch baat alag hai. So in this period where we are going to be a lot time away, it is what is the kind of service that you're providing. Just to let you know, we at Avid Miner, we are very, very happy that whenever we reply to a mail, you know what, the first line that invariably people tell us, "Thanks for the prompt reply." Because we make sure that half an hour, maximum 40 minutes after we receive a mail, we reply. All right. Now, for us, the question is not that we are quick in replying. The question is, what is that experience that those people had when they were interacting with us? So this is really an opportunity for each one of us to invest in human beings and go that extra mile, do that extra bit. So not just rely on how good I am, but also work on what is the experience that they are having while they are using, our services. And that, I think, is a very, very key part that CXOs will need to inspire their teams into. That it's not another day at a job. It's the privilege of having that job. It's the privilege of working. It's the privilege of adding value to yourself, your family. And that is only happening when you can add value to the organization and the organization adds value to the world. So it's a very interesting chain, and really needs to be worked on.
Very good. I'm reminded of the book Godfather, where Michael Corleone asks his father, Don Corleone, Father, how did you build this big empire? And he says that whenever somebody came to me to ask for a favor, whenever a friend came to me to ask for a favor, I sensed it. And I put my arm around his shoulder so he has the comfort of asking. He has the comfort to ask. So what you're saying is we should be, on one side, people who can ask for help. At the other side also, perhaps we should be able to signal that we are willing to help, like Don Corleone.
What you said is a very powerful thing. I just got an image and I must share this with you.
Go
ahead. This entire conversation that we've heard often, in any time, we have heard that when people get something, when we reach in a position, we get a feeling that people are using us. All the people who are sitting, I'm just asking you, isn't it true that you have experienced that time that that person is using me here? Even if you are not getting that feeling, somebody else is telling you, be careful, huh? I'm feeling that person is using. So over a period of time, a whole lot of the way we are looking at people, we look through, isko kya chahiye? And phone, bol. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, okay. So what do you want from me? Now, that's a very difficult and very uncomfortable place to be for me. And I discovered something very interesting. I love to be used. In fact, I'm so happy that if somebody can use you. If somebody can use me, please do. You know why? Arey yaar, kaam aa raha hu yaar. And I'm not being philosophical about it. Please understand. If I'm worth less, then I can come to no one's use. If more people ask for me and if they ask for some favor, look at the privilege. Now, I may say yes or I may say no, but not in fear of somebody using us. And just look at this. When we make any product, when we create an organization, it's actually a mesh of relationships, Teams are there, this team, that team, interfunctional teams. And when each one of them can be there for each other and not be in a world that I think that they're trying to make the most of it, it's okay. Let them use me. What can I do for you? So therefore, one of the things that we do in our workshops like this is that I give them a powerful line which says, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And I'm talking this to the customer, the client. And that client is not just outside my organization. That client is the person that I'm speaking to right now. What can I do for you? What can I do that can be of service to you? That is what we really need to create in this world. Because things are not 10,000 feet high, dear friends. We create success stories when we can impact that human being. And what that person wants, as Don Corleone says, he may not even be open to say it. And if we can reassure that person saying that, tell me, when I go to my director, when we enter a film set, I love using this line. I will just walk up to the director and say that, so how would you want this? How would you want this scene? In fact, Pavanji, if you recall, when we were curating this conversation, and we've been speaking for a while, my question to you was, Pavanji, how would you want it? Because this is your show, my friend. And it's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure to be in the presence of your guests. They are your guests. Okay? And what value we can add to them is the privilege that you and I have, Pavanji.
We're trying our best. Thank you very much for putting your shoulder to the wheel, really putting your shoulder to the wheel. On your ego point, I was reminded of another couplet from somebody I heard in your town and your world only, that ego का मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि the couplet he says is परछाई से कद नहीं नापते, परछाई से कद नहीं नापते, जिंदगी की धूप रोज बदलती है, और कोविड ने बहुत जबरदस्त धूप बदल दी, बिल्कुल बदल गई. Coming to a question which has come up and weaving it with another which has come on my WhatsApp. How in this world of social distancing will you create warm interpersonal relationships? And let me add to it one more point, that earlier the employer had a stranglehold over the employee. With work from home, etc., this is reducing. At the same time, the boss is trying to create more angles and more, let me say, tentacles to hold the employee accountable, and maybe somewhere restricting the little freedom and the little anxiety-less time which COVID requires. So these are the 2 points on which I would like you to.
It's a game of trust, my friend. It's a game of trust. Where do you find yourself? How much? Where would you? I'm like, there's this conversation called, let me gain your trust. Let you please gain my trust. You please gain my respect. Earn my respect. Earn my trust. Kab tak? I personally, I begin with trust. I begin with respect. Let that person earn their disrespect and earn their mistrust. So I think one of the things that is happening in this period is that if you keep distrusting people, they will find ways. They will find ways. Even if they don't find ways, you will think that they have found ways. So my father, Pavanji, middle class, working in Sangeet Natak Academy, not a person, we never had money to buy a car, but we traveled happily in a taxi. And he had this habit that when he would go to a vegetable seller, और हम लोग सब साथ सब्जी खरीदने जाते थे, लक्ष्मी नगर में हम रहते थे in Delhi, and he would pay 50 rupees or something, and the vegetable seller would, buy that thing and then return that money, and he would just hold it and keep it in his wallet. He had a leather wallet, I still recall, brown tan. He would put it in his pocket. And so it was normal for me. And I remember one day, an uncle of ours, uncle of mine, we were walking together and he saw it and he said, Govindji, won't you count the money? So Baba looked at him and said, it's all right. Now, something interesting happened. After that, I started noticing others that वो आके वो एक एक पैसा गिन के रख के ATM से निकलते हैं, वो पूरा एक एक ATM से भी निकला है, एक एक गिना पूरा ये सब करके ले रहे हैं. And my father, he moved on at 92. He died peaceful. I'm not sure whether he was not gypped in life. I was not sure that some vegetable seller or someone else or a taxi driver or a scooter driver or somebody would have paid him a little less than what he was supposed to, but he died peacefully. I've known a lot of people who stay worried because they feel that somebody is going to cheat. So once they even counted, they say, "Yaar, are you sure your price correct diya? Main thoda aur kam de sakta tha kya?" So this act of trust for me is something which gives me peace of mind. Because otherwise, if you distrust, then even the most trustworthy, do you remember those locks? एक लॉक, उसके बाद एक और लॉक, उसके बाद एक और लॉक, उसके बाद खींच के भी देखो भाई, उसको डर लगा हुआ है, अभी भी कोई तोड़ देगा, अभी भी कोई सेंग लगा देगा. So that is it's an element of a personal choice, Pavanji, where we can exercise that personal choice, that what is it that you are inspiring your team into. And that's where leaders make a difference. And I personally feel that leadership is something which inspires, doesn't ask, doesn't give directions, it invites. So what I love about conversations, and we at Avid Miner, we call each of our events, we call them conversations. We invite conversations. Hey, it's possible. Do you want to have a look at it? It is possible. It's not like, go do it. It's like, come, let's experience it. Now, imagine if organizations invite people into a pool of trust, where they say that I trust you. Want to work with me? So we'll have to create a separate invite, not to play that game. This is not in answer of mistrust. This is welcoming people to a game of creation, where people believe that this is my life, this is my privilege, and why will I not add the most that I can?
Absolutely. In fact, the dictum, that the corporate dictum that trust but verify is changing today, because the power structure is changing. If people will go in for a gig economy, that means there will be one employee, or let us say one worker, and he will be working for 5 people.
Yes.
So he will work for more, perhaps, for the person who treats him well, for the person who trusts him. And often we have found, and research also proves that people rise to your expectation of them. If you think that they will be trustworthy, they end up as trustworthy usually. And even if they don't, you in your yellow leaf season of life, like your father, is still peaceful. Yeah. Otherwise, the yellow leaf season of life and the approaching deathbed is extremely distressing for people who have not been able to reach a harmonious level of existence and understanding of people. So coming to the last question, or last set of questions, Ashish ji, and this is asked by Sanjay Bhutani, and this concerns your Bollywood career. And Sanjay Bhutani is the MD of Bosch & Lomb. So you would have got many different roles. Why did you mostly accept negative roles? This is the first question he has asked. And second thing is asking is, how is Bollywood coping up with respect to skill development?
Got it. So you got a Bollywood question. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So Sanjay, life is what is offered to you. And let me tell you, you choose from what you get. All right. And so right at the beginning of my career, there are some very interesting roles that I got, which were what were understood as negative, and they were negative villain roles. And I did it, and that worked. So even though I am an actor, you really get that, especially at the time that when I began my career in the 90s, there were very clear demarcations. So what clicked for me was that I became known as a negative, actor who does negative roles. So for me personally, I was doing one role after the other. All right. So I did it very well because I got that this is my way of earning a livelihood. And I'll be very straight with you. When you take a profession, it is your livelihood. All right. And you know that so I was a good actor even before my films clicked. All right. So a Bichu happened, but before that, I was a good actor. But when Ziddi becomes hit, a Bichu becomes hit, or a film called Dil in Tamil becomes a hit, and Pokri becomes a hit in some later. So what happens is that you are determined by what the market thinks you are. It is not a description of you. So therefore, for me, I have always had a very clear distinction between what they say I am and what I say I am. So being an actor who's done so many, in fact, my joke is that if somebody asks, "Tum kaise ho?" I'll say, "Mar mar ke ji raha hu yaar." And I'm not lamenting. I'm actually saying that with each death I'm living, because 230 films, probably 180 as villains, I would have died in 173. In different ways I would have died. And so everything that I've earned, I've made is through that. And that has also given me a very different view of life. It has allowed me to differentiate between the actor, the me, and the roles. And it has allowed me to delineate certain things. So a whole part of me, as I go out and speak to organizations and as I interact with people, it is because I understand human beings beyond their stereotypes, because I have played stereotypes, knowing that I'm not a stereotype. And if you can get the sense of it, that each one of us is a celebration of hues, a celebration of hues. And in a coaching process, the process that I use, I call it your minus. Your minus. MYNESS. Now I have a minus, which is so uniquely me. All right. It's also, you may be calling it my X factor, my chutzpah, where I do, woof, I select something, oh, but we keep it down. We don't allow it to show up. You know why? Because somebody else only wants one part of me. So for me, yes, I felt, hey, listen, I got something more to me than just these roles. So what do? Do I just sit there and lament? No, I don't. I did for a while. And then I said, I step out. Now, trust me, my friend, after having created a career over the 26 years at that point, when I said that, you know what, I want to create something else, define myself in ways different from what others perceive me to be. And that's when I stepped out. Was it easy? It wasn't. But was it fulfilling? Yes, it was. Because it meant that I'm going to now have to create a whole new understanding. So over these last 6 years now at this point, I can say that we have touched more than 200 organizations, done extensive coaching with seniors, with extensive workshops with seniors, and address sales forces. So I speak right from boards to large sales forces. All right, because I modify my narration according to what is the target. Because I personally feel that communication is basis what is landed, not what I want to say. So therefore, in this world, when you want to be multifaceted, it is your job, it is my job to let the world know your facets. And therefore, I think that this period, Pavanji, for me, this period is one which is inviting us to actually do the things that you haven't done before. Do you remember those things that you say, if only, My friend, this is the time for you to do the if only, because the apple cart has been upset. It's been all
Absolutely.
changed. So now is the time to actually reach out to that extraordinariness in you, which you thought was scary. अब तो सब कुछ ही scary है भाई. अब तो डरो ही, अब तो कूद पड़ो. So I
Absolutely.
invite people, as we complete this conversation today, that really to kind of invite you all to step out and write that poem, sing that song that you wanted to. Because
Absolutely.
this is an extraordinary time of opportunity, because at this point many things have been shaken. People who have been really established are shaken. It's become, like things have fallen. This is the time for individuals and teams and organizations to create those futures which they wanted to. So let the example be from that, that small guy who is also selling the face mask and the hand sanitizer. This is the time for each one of us to repurpose ourselves.
Because all of us have fallen on the ground. We cannot fall further. This is the time, the risk is the lowest actually to live your dream. And closing it on one last point, which has come up as a consequence of our conversation from one of our audience, is that when do you call it quits? If somebody is constantly using you, and what he means is constantly exploiting you,
Mm.
is there a time when it comes to completely sever that relationship? And what are the indicators that that time has come?
So if that person is holding a pistol to your head and asking you to do something, then you are being exploited. All right? If that is not happening, then you are choosing to. See, each time somebody asks for something, you have the power to say yes or no. If you do not have the power to say no, seek, ask others. This world, I'm telling you, I'm being very straight on this. I mean, very, very straight on this. This is not a conversation where we say that, those people are using me. Those men na nahi kya pata. Na kaho phir. Don't look at why do you not want to say no. Because if you think you're being used, have the power to say no and take the consequences. See, we don't want to face the consequences of a no. And then we say that we're being used. So we know that now there is a difference between abuse. Yes, people are being abused, and those people who are abusers should be really put away. So we are not talking about that. But what we are talking of in day-to-day life, that it could be a relative, it could be a boss, it could be a colleague, it could be anybody else, and you say that, yeah, that person is using me. If that person isn't using you, you're allowing yourself, because there is something that you want out of that, but you're not admitting. So to ask that question, that what is it that you want and then you're not getting, and then you say, yeah, I've been used. So allow yourself to really be the person who makes a choice. And if you've made a choice, stay with it. Because none of us, dear friends, will make always the right choices. None of us. At least I can speak for myself. Pavanji, I don't know about you, but I've made a whole lot of choices which I've thought, "Are yaar, kyun kiya?" But you know what? Right after that, I knew that I made a choice. And what is available to you and me, dear friend, is that ability to consistently make choices. So if a choice didn't work out, make some new choices.
Yeah,
And
they say,
this period is asking us to make new choices.
yeah, they say if you have made a choice, you've had a luxury because you were not forced on the only path which was available.
Absolutely.
So be prepared when you're making a choice that regret may follow, but regret would follow only if you had the chance to choose, and that is itself a privilege. I'm glad that you used the metaphor of a pistol, and you used that beautiful dialogue, "Mar mar ke ji raha hu." I would like to say, Ashish ji, in the end, I would like to say that to be a villain takes some much higher talent, and to bring that dark side and make the audience feel viscerally, on which the hero comes as a foreground, that background is extremely difficult to make. Thank you for entertaining us through your movies And thank you for this most enriching and entertaining dialogue for Blue Circle colleagues. I'm glad that so many stayed back to listen to your last word. Thank you very much. Big pleasure having you over, and wish you all the best in all the multiple, multicolor journeys you undertake.
Best wishes, sir. Best wishes for your journey.
Thank you very
for
much.
everything. Best wishes,
And
Siddharth. Best
Thank you very
to
much.
all of you at Blue Circle.
Absolutely.
Carry on. Keep doing some amazing work. Thank you.